These days there are more children's books available than ever before. So where do you start when you want to choose a book for a child? Niamh Baldwin of Waterford City Library explains how the children's book section is arranged.
They'll be organised by age, then maybe in fiction or non-fiction, non-fiction being nature, sports, history, anything like that. Age generally 0 to 4, 4 to 6, 6 to 8 and then 9 to 13 before you go into your teenage section then. You can and you should start from the moment a child is born. I mean, babies, the moment they open their eyes, they're learning from sight and sound and sensation. So reading to them is stimulating and soothing them, just the sound of your voice.
Rachel felt her heart thump with excitement.
Sharon Cody tells us when she started reading to her daughter Ciara.
Around 2 and 3, just before she started play school. And after that then Ciara kind of got very independent herself and wanted to read her own little books. But when we did start reading, it was all the classic stories, your Cinderella and Little Red Riding Hood and Snow White, the ones that we all heard when we were children.
Reading to the child, obviously, it improves their listening comprehension, it stimulates speech development. A child learns speech development from being read. They're like sponges, they soak up words. So when they're hearing you reading to them and they're listening to these words and the pronunciations, and after 6 months they'll start imitating the words and talking back to you. But it builds up their vocabulary. They hear these words when they're older, they're seeing the words, they're hearing the pronunciations. So they're learning their vocabulary and they're learning their words.
When I was reading a book to Ciara, just to include her, I'd pick, say, a certain word at the beginning of the story, and throughout, that would be Ciara's word to say, you know, and I'd pick a different one each time, just to make her familiar with the different words. And hopefully, I think that would have helped her as well when she started school, that she had that little bit more before she started picking up her school books.
If a child has a basic knowledge of language and literacy before they get to school, basic as in they know that printed text is word, they know that the pictures represent objects, even that a book is read from the front to the back, and that better equips them then to deal with formal reading instruction that they will get from their teachers.
Try to find time during the week to read to your child. It's not always easy.
When I was working full-time, it was a bit difficult, so in the evenings we'd take time out, and bedtime mainly. That was relaxing time. Ciara would take out her books or I'd take out the book, and we'd sit together or lie down together and we'd read our books.
I'm reading Ruby the Red Fairy from Rainbow Magic. I like reading by myself and with my mum, because if I'm stuck on words she'll help me and things like that.
What general advice does Niamh have for parents about choosing books for their child?
The advice that I would give to parents when selecting a book would be, first of all, to consider the age group that they're looking for, and then also the standard that the child is at. A lot of kids, they might be advanced for the age group that the books would be in. They might have more complex vocabulary, they might have longer attention spans, so they can deal with more sophisticated or more complex stories. You can't always go by what one person likes. You have to take into consideration where they are with their reading and what they're interested in as well.
As well as providing books, libraries sometimes give children a chance to meet their favourite author.
Children are very excited to meet the authors, and then they always feel they're meeting somebody famous, and we tend to send the books out to the schools before they get there, so they're familiar with the work, so they know, and the authors then themselves are delighted that, you know, their books have been read, and so they come in, they meet the author, they have loads of questions. Kids are so curious and they want to know, you know, where did you come up with your ideas and that, so they're always very excited to come. And it's great for us too then, because a lot of them wouldn't have been in the library, and now they know where the library is and they know they can come in, so they go home and they say, oh Mammy, I was in the library today and I saw this, can we go in on Saturday?
Reading, it just brings them out of themselves, and it just really gets their imaginations going, and children need to have good imaginations, and they need to be able to sit down and read their little stories and write their little stories and get lost. I mean, that's what childhood is all about.
Rain stops before we get off the ferry, said Mr.